5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
To your weekly Media Mosh podcast. I'm your host, Shane Beauregard, coming at you with all your news, reviews, and previews on what to watch on your streaming services, your television, and your local theater. I hope everyone's had a great week. Coming at you Sunday night, September the 29th. And it was actually a pretty good football Sunday because my Jets had a bye, so that means no loss. So I could just sit back and relax. So let's get into just a little bit of news. Joker, the Joker movie that comes out October the 4th. It seems like this movie is in the headline every damn day. I mean, is this the first rated R movie we've ever had? They're not going to show it in certain theaters because they are afraid of a mass shooting. I know for some people this is a sensitive subject. I'm not trying to rain all over that, but it is fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. If this is the movie that's going to set you off, I hate to say it, parents, you're just not doing your goddamn job at all. I mean, we have John Wick. We have 3 John Wicks with like 300 kills in those movies. I think even Todd Phillips pointed that fact out. And those movies aren't being banned from theaters. And I haven't seen The Joker yet, but I imagine there's a lot more headshots in John Wick 3 than there's going to be The Joker. So, again, it's just a touchy subject in 2019. But I'm just calling bullshit on this. Like, just parents, do your fucking jobs. I mean, just check in your kid's room once in a while. See what the hell's going on there. Jonah Hill, fucking this guy. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what was floated out last week. He wants double the money that Robert Pattinson's getting for playing Batman. Just based on that, I'm like, go fuck off. Go do another Seth Rogen movie or whatever the hell, your Sausage Party movie or something. That's fucking ridiculous. And they don't know what he's going to play yet. The speculation is the Penguin, because I guess physically, but I was thinking more Riddler. If he wants double the money, just fuck off. My boy Sam Winchester is going to be leading the way on the new Walker Texas Ranger remake, which obviously Chuck Norris made famous. I really would have thought this had been a role, more of a Dean role than a Sam role, but based on that, I'll give it a shot. You know, anyone that spins off of Supernatural, I have a soft spot for, so count me in on that. The original cast from Jurassic Park is reuniting. They're going to be in the new Jurassic World 3 and another movie. Like, why? Like, I don't know how far you can take this. You really can't take this fucking franchise any farther. I don't know. I did see the last Jurassic World. It was okay. I mean, it got a little ridiculous, but just like all those movies, I just don't. A third one? Okay. Little video game news. And I used to be a big gamer back in the day, but since I had 2 kids, I really probably buy about 3 or 4 games a year. So I'm pretty picky. One of the best games I've ever played, though, I think it was originally released in 2013 or 14, but The Last of Us. Saw the new trailer for The Last of Us 2. It looks awesome. So that'll probably be my next purchase. It comes out February 22nd next year. Samuel Jackson is in talks with being lending his voice to the Alexa machine from Amazon, which is pretty cool. But I'm waiting for the Sam Elliott one. I mean, that thing could be a good thing or a bad thing, because I'll probably end up using him as a surrogate father. Just having conversations with him like on a Friday or Saturday night when I've been drinking too much. And really just, I'll have him like tell me bedtime stories. Can you imagine just getting told bedtime stories by fucking Sam Elliott? Jesus. I'm waiting for that. And saw the new trailer for the new Adam Sandler movie, Uncut Gems. It actually looks really good. This is one of the handful of movies that I think Sandler's going to get a nod for acting-wise. Go check that out. Comes out later this year. The first reviews for The Irishman are in, 41 reviews, and they're saying this could be the movie of the year, so we'll find out. Comes out tail end of 2019 on Netflix. And as predicted, as I was recording this show, the Emmys run last week. Not that I watched that bullshit anyway, but it was, I'm calling bullshit because Game of Thrones won Best Dramatic Series, and as any true fan knows, that's a fucking wagon full of shit right there, because that last season sucked. I mean, they could have given it to any other show in that category that night. It would have made more sense. So, fuck the Emmys. But Chernobyl won for limited series. Fleabag won for the comedic series. That's on Amazon. I need to check that out because there are a lot of people watching Fleabag. Peter Dinklage, Michelle Williams won for Best Actor and Actresses. Bill Hader, I was glad to see him. He won Best Lead in a Comedic Role for Barry. Barry is hilarious. That's on HBO as well. And that is my news for the week. Let's turn our attention to the box office. Top 5. Unfortunately, my Rambo fell out. It was 3 last week. It is now number 6. The other notable release that came out was Judy with Renee Zellweger. That finished 7th, bringing in $3 million. So number 5, Ad Astra, bringing in 10.1. It Chapter 2 brings in 10.4 mil. Hustlers, which last week was number 5, jumps back up to number 3, bringing in 11.4. And thank God, really, thank God Downton Abbey finished 2nd. I thought it would finish 1st, but it finishes 2nd, bringing in $14.5 million. That movie can go fuck off. And number 1, and I'm not going to edit this out because I had to edit this fucking 10 times last week. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Number 1 at the box office was Abominable. Yeah, there we go. I don't care how slow I said that. I got it in. I'm not going to say it again. Bringing in $20 million. So that is your top 5. And the only movie that you need to know about next week is the aforementioned Joker, coming out on the 4th. And that is the movie I'll be watching this week. Coming out on Netflix next week is a pretty big weekend. October is a pretty big month, actually. If you're into stand-up, Nikki Glacier's new stand-up Bangin' is out October 1st. You have the new 2nd season of Carmen, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, coming out in the 1st as well. I watched that series with my kids. It's actually a well-done series. I like the new style of animation on it. It's pretty good. Next weekend you have Big Mouth Season 3, and you have Peaky Blinders Season 5 coming out on October 4th. And the one everyone's waiting for is El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie that comes out the following week. So, later on in the month, you have a new Paul Rudd movie, Living with Yourself. You have the Laundromat, Antonio Banderas, Michael Douglas, and then you have the Dolomite movie at the tail end of the month. So there's a lot of good stuff on Netflix this month. But for next week, Big Mouth and Peaky Blinders should keep you busy. Yeah, that is everything coming on Netflix. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode because, there were some things I watched. Didn't get around to a whole lot. The movie I wanted to see wasn't playing at the right time that I can go, which is The Day Shall Come with Anna Kendrick. So we ended up catching up on Sinner Season 2. I'm 1 episode away from finishing that up, so I'll have that review for you next week. And so far, I will say, it's just a little under par from the first season, but it's still really solid. Bill Pullman is really carrying his weight in this season. So I watched the 3rd episode of Titans, and honestly, it was probably I don't want to say it was one of the weaker episodes, but yeah, it did lack. They did a time jump. They did a 5 years earlier when the original Titans were together, and kind of showed you what happened to make them dissolve. You get a nice Aqualad. It's finally introduced. You get a little more backstory on Deathstroke. So, but again, a little slower at times, but still really solid. So I'm imagining next week they're going to get back on track. I did watch an episode of The Politician, which is a new show on Netflix. It came out this Friday with Jessica Lange and Gwyneth Paltrow. It's sitting at 58% Rotten Tomato, and so far, I'm lukewarm on the episode. I'm going to give it my normal 3 and see if I pick up on that. If you like the movie Election with Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon, you should like The Politician. It's pretty much the same kind of humor, and it's the same kind of setup. You have 2 different people in schools trying to get elected, and they're pulling out all the stops on the other person. So I'll keep you up to date on that series as I get more episodes in. So my movie of the week is the Netflix original In the Shadow of the Moon. I talked about this a little bit last week. This one is directed by Jim Mickle, who also directed Cold in July, also with Michael C. Hall, and We Are What We Are, which I heard great things about. That's on Netflix right now. Both those movies are sitting at 86%. This one stars Boyd Holbrook, Joaquin Woodbine, Michael C. Hall, and Cleopatra Coleman. This movie is just a bunch of different little genres thrown together. It's part cop thriller, it's part serial killer movie, it's a little bit of a family drama, and then they go ahead and sprinkle the time travel part in there. And this movie is more good than bad. I will say that. It is a little ambitious, I think. So let's go over just the basic premise of this movie. You have Boyd Holbrook playing Detective Locke. This movie starts you in 2024 and it springs you into action in 1988. We're on this one night where Locke and his partner Maddox are out on patrol. You have 4 different murders happen on different sides of town, and they eventually track the perpetrator down, only for her to get hit by a train and presumably die. And then flash forward 9 years later to 1997, the same type of killings are going on. So that is the basic setup of the movie. This movie is very engaging. It had me engaged throughout the whole 2-hour ride. The acting is a plus. You have a very good performance by Boyd Holbrook. And as the years are coming, like every 9 years, he is looking more worse for the wear. So this case is really taking a toll on him, and not in a good way. Not only between his physically and mental self, but more or less his relationship with his daughter, who was born in 1988 as well. You have Michael C. Hall playing, at that time, Lieutenant Holt back in 1988. But as the movie evolves, he is now Police Chief Holt. He did a fine job. Dexter was okay, though his accent was nothing close to Philly. In fact, my only pet peeve with him is he had like a southern accent come in and out throughout the movie. The other plus, I thought, slight plus, was the writing for this movie, though it did have a couple plot holes when this thing finished up. Kind of had me thinking about some things. The only negative for me was the final act. It didn't pay off like I thought it would. Once you finally figured out what was going on and why every 9 years and who this assassin was, I thought the writers were trying to be a little too clever, and it just didn't work for me. Some of the CGI also was a little bit of a negative. There was an opening scene with a CGI flag that was falling down upon this mantle chaotic city, and it just looked something from the Sci-Fi Channel. So this movie, to me, again, had a lot of good things going for it for a mixed bag of a movie that it was. It was ambitious in parts. I had no problem with the direction of this film. The directing was actually a little better than the writing. Bokeem Woodbine was fine, getting back to the acting, though I just felt like any actor could have played his role. He didn't really bring much to it, but he was fine. But at the end, this is one of those movies that's hard for me to review just because I don't have a reason why I didn't like the ending of this movie. I don't want to say it felt hollow to me. And it just was a little bit of a letdown. I know that's a cop-out by me trying to give this thing a review. I liked 2/3 of this movie, did not like the last 10 minutes. I did read where there is a voiceover towards the end of this movie, and that's not spoiling anything for you. I didn't mind it because it filled in some of the story gaps that I had, but it didn't really completely fill them, but it did enough. It did its job, so I did not mind that part. So and I hate saying this too, but for a Netflix film, this was one of their mid to upper tier Netflix movies. Right now it's sitting at 68% on Rotten Tomato. I would go a little higher. To me, this is worth a viewing, and then you could just form your own opinion from there. But I was more engaged than bored. So I would go 2.75 out of 5 for In the Shadow of the Moon. And that's it, folks. Next week it's all about the Joker, Titans episode 4, and who knows what else. And I realized I forgot to give you 5 more entries into my 50 plus female actress bracket, and I will have that for you next week, and we'll get more male entries in there and have a little bit more fun. So until then, everyone, have a great week. Go check me out on Facebook, Media Mosh. Go check me out on the Twitterverse at Shane Media Mosh. More importantly, go to the Apple Podcast Store, download me, share me, give me a review. I appreciate that. Then circle back the wagons starting tomorrow, October 1st. Go check out Mr. Arg Myself on, you should always be checking out Mr. Arg Myself on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But tomorrow starts October 1st, which means the missus will be in charge for the whole month of October, seeing that Halloween is their specialty. So stay tuned for that. Until then, get caught up in the mosh.